everybody, it's Lisa aka Wolf and Storm coming at you live with a new video. I know it's been a while. I had said in my last one that I wasn't going to be doing another one until I had something to review, and I didn't know how long it was going to take for Big Finish to come out with their newest audios that I had ordered. But finally, April was a big dump month, so we have 2 reviews for you guys today. We have Dalek Universe 1, which comprises 3 separate stories. Buying Time, The Wrong Woman, and The House of Kingdom. So that's going to be a bit lengthy because it's 3 hour-long stories into one. It starts off kind of slow at first, but by the end of the first story, you're going to be like, I'm sorry, what? What did you just do? I mean, I saw a lot of responses online that were along the same vein, going, what the actual fuck? And it wasn't until you get into the second story that you figure out what the hell's going on. And it's kind of crazy, but at the same time, kind of fucking brilliant. I think they kind of planned it that way. They wanted it to start off a little bit slow so that you get that big shock at the end. So even if you feel like, well, maybe I'll just come back to this later. No, now I can't. I have to listen to the second story to find out what the fuck is going on. So, okay, we're going to review those 3, and then we're going to review Echoes of Extinction! Yes, it's finally here. Echoes of Extinction. It is one story divided into 2 parts. They're like a little over 20 minutes each. And the first half is the 8th Doctor. He's on a spaceship, and he's trying to help the lone humanoid that is there against this cybernetic psychic entity that wants to kill her and everyone on the planet below. And then in the second half, you have the 10th Doctor, who is on that same planet, only in his time frame, dealing with the after effects of whatever the 8th Doctor did. It took me a minute to figure out where in the Time Lord Victorious timeline this takes place, because the Time Lord Victorious is a very self-contained story, and there's not a lot of spots where you can just throw stories in. So I finally figured it out, and it's actually kind of simple. So we're going to review that, and then we're also going to have the unboxing video for Pudsey Bear is here. The only piece of Doctor Who merchandise I'm still left waiting for is the Everything Staged from Unbound. That is really only because you have to wait first for the book to be completed. So they usually will send out an email update to everybody that donated to unbound.com, Everything Staged, to let them know the update progress of how much longer it's going to be before the book is ready for publishing. Last I heard, it was still being written. They were still getting everything together to publish. So as soon as I get an update on that and find out how long it will be before I get my swag, I will let y'all know. So we'll have an unboxing for that. But we definitely have the Pudsey Bear here. So before I open this up, I want to give a big thanks, shout out, love, kisses, everything, hugs to my dear friend Tim Thorne over in the UK, without whom this would not be possible. If you see him on Twitter, he is known as the Thin King, big Doctor Who fan. Please give him a shout out, give him a like, retweet his stuff, give him big kisses and hugs. A lot of other Doctor Who merch, whether it's a charity donation thing like White Curl or Unbound, it's not an issue getting it from the UK. But something like Children in Need, which is like only in the UK and only markets to UK and the closest surrounding countries, it's very difficult to get something like this. Normally I wouldn't have bothered, but because this was a 40th anniversary limited edition bear, which will probably never come out again, I wanted to take the opportunity. So I had to find someone in the UK who would be nice enough to allow me to send it to them, or use their address to have it sent, and then I would pay them the money to have it sent to me here in the US. So he was nice enough to agree to do that. So here we go. Before we start, some housekeeping, please. As usual, help me keeping on as you always do. Hit that like button, smash that bell for updates on my new videos, and subscribe. Please help me keep on keeping on. The more you guys subscribe and hit those likes, the more I'm able to give you this content when you desire it. I know it's slow now because a lot of shows are winding up their seasons for the summer break, and there's not too much to do reviews on. I know the new season of Doctor Who will not be starting until probably fall, if that. I don't know if I'm going to review it because I don't particularly care for this era of the show, so, as you well know. So if I had to watch it, I think I would be very... I'm going to watch the first episode just to see what it's like with this John Bishop character. And then we'll go from there. I may give it a little more credence, only considering the fact that it's Jodie Whittaker's supposedly final season. So, give her that send off. Yeah. Anyway, so, here we go. This is the little backrest that comes with it. This is if you want to put it on a shelf, you know, as a collectible. Because the way the bear, I can tell, is made, it's not like the Build-A-Bear where it can sit. It only doesn't, it's not posable. So it's easier to put it in the box. And we have here 40th anniversary limited edition bears. Children in Need, BBC. On the back, we have, to celebrate BBC Children in Need's 40th anniversary, Pudsey and Blush, that's the female version of the bear, have dressed in outfits representing their favorite BBC TV programs that have shown in their support over the years. And we all know that Doctor Who and Children in Need have a very special relationship ever since Russell T Davies revamped the show in 2005. He's always been very good about making sure that the show does whatever it can to donate to this charity. He's even written some of the best little in-between specials just for Children in Need, and I know you've all seen them. There's Reborn, when we got our first taste of David Tennant as the 10th Doctor. There's Time Crash. There wasn't one that was between 2 and 3. Well, no, there wasn't one that was between season 2 and 3. But we have Time Crash, which is the awesome sauce meetup between the 10th Doctor and the 5th Doctor. So, and they've also done quite a few cute little skits in the console, and they had some awesome charity drives. So, yes, Pudsey, Children in Need, and Doctor Who have a very special, close-knit relationship going on almost 20 years now. So we think they look great. We hope you agree. We are made out of recycled materials. To find out more, head to www.bbcchildreninneedshop.co.uk. 38% of the price of this bear will benefit BBC Children in Need. So there's that. And comes with the passport. This is kind of like the thing where it says, you know, what number the bear has, because again, these are limited edition bears. This is VIP bear number 06374. And here we have a picture of Pudsey as the 10th Doctor standing in the 9th and 10th Doctor's console room. I use the console room so much. And then on the other side we have all 7 exclusive and limited edition VIP bears. And these all go with different television shows in the UK. Doctor Who. Doctor Who has been taking audiences on amazing adventures across space and time since 1963, making it the longest-running sci-fi show in the world. The Doctor is a brave, charming, and super smart Time Lord who travels in a ship called the TARDIS. With help from a few special human friends, the Doctor's mission is to save the universe and always help those in need. Pudsey wears the costume of the 10th Doctor as portrayed on screen by David Tennant from 2005 to 2010. I would give anything if they had a Christopher Eccleston bear. Oh my god. Collect all 7 and limited edition VIP bears. Exclusive and limited edition. We have one that's SOS. I can't read what's in the yellow. It's too small. But it looks like a council estate work person. It's got a construction hat. He looks like the guy from Fear Her that was fixing the street for the Olympics. And we have the 10th Doctor, we have the 13th Doctor, we have Countryfile Bear, we have EastEnders Bear, we have, I'm not sure what show that's supposed to symbolize. It's a circle with a little M in it. You guys probably know better than me if you live in the UK. And Autumn Watch. Here are 7 bears. The one here, I'm not sure, this one right here, I'm not sure what that symbol means. I'm not from the UK, so I don't know. I know quite a few of your shows, but not all. So that is the passport, BBC Children in Need. That lets you know that you have a limited edition VIP bear. And now for the big reveal. Da, 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 da. Pudsey! We have our traditional Pudsey bandage that goes on all the bears to let you know just how important it is that these bears are to children in need. Children in need, and primarily they help children that are in the hospital who are ill and need assistance. This bear is a lot smaller than I thought it would be. I thought it was going to be the same size as the Build-A-Bear, but it's not. It's actually quite small. It's not posable either. It can't sit. It can't sit. It's made to be standing. We have the same shoes, the trainers, and our 10th Doctor suit and tie, Oxford shirt. It's got a belt. 10th Doctor doesn't normally wear a belt, though. That's mostly because David Tennant doesn't have a waist, so he doesn't really need one. And the 10th Doctor jacket, our famous jacket. The only thing he doesn't have is the glasses, but I guess that's sacrosanct because of the bandage and no Sonic, but that's okay. That's okay. So, here's our Pudsey. This would be pretty. Pretty, pretty, pretty. So cute. So, if we do it like this, we put the bear in the box, because it's meant to stand up like that. And then put the passport in front of the bear. There you go. Pudsey Bear! 10th Doctor Pudsey Bear. Lovely. Once again, thank you. Thank you. Many thanks. And I love you. To Tim Thorne. Thank you for all of your help. Ooh. Wow. It's a rainy day today. I hope the power doesn't go out before I finish this review. Okay. Oh, I can hear the thunder now too. Anywho, so let's go right into Dalek Universe Part 1. 3 stories, as I said. We have Buying Time, The Wrong Woman, and House of Kingdom. I will admit that the first story starts off somewhat slow, because the Doctor shows up out of nowhere, and there's not an explanation in these 3 stories of how he got there. He spends the entire 3 stories trying to figure out who sent him there. You kind of find out, sort of, in the second story, but still it's a little convoluted. The second story ends in such a way that I felt like not all of the storyline was tied up properly, because it ended so quickly. But so the Doctor finds himself pulled out of his TARDIS and pulled into some random time and some random place. he's not sure where he is at first, but he comes upon a group of people who are investigating, who are on a planet, and they're investigating some sort of creature that has done a lot of damage. He doesn't know what it is at first. He doesn't even know why he's there. He's kind of pissed off at the fact that he's lost control. You know, he doesn't have his TARDIS, and if he can't find a way, if he can't figure out who sent him there, he won't be able, and if he can't get back to the TARDIS, he's going to be stuck. Because even though these people are in the future and they have spaceships and can take him anywhere in the universe that he wants to go, he's out of his, wherever his time frame is. I don't know if the TARDIS was in the past or in the future or in the present or where he was exactly, but I know that he was grabbed. Now, just for some context, Dalek Universe firmly takes place in the time between, I had to really, really crunch it to figure out where exactly it took place. I know it takes place after Journey's End, for sure. This is during that year's specials. I also know, judging based on how he talks and what he chooses to reveal about himself, I was able to ascertain that it takes place before Planet of the Dead, because he's not talking anything about running for his life or trying to outrun any prophecies of death. So I'm pretty sure this takes place after the next Doctor, but before Planet of the Dead. At least in my mind, from what I could tell, because he doesn't seem to have that urgency about him yet to outrun, or he hasn't gone dark yet, like what happened in Waters of Mars. Not there yet. Almost, but not quite. I think this might happen just before Planet of the Dead, because he hasn't gotten the prophecy yet. I can tell by his personality, by how he talks, and what he chooses to reveal. So the first group he comes upon is Anya Kingdom, her boss, and Mark 7. Mark 7 he remembers from a past adventure, and Mark 7 was an android who in the past was trying to kill him. And Anya Kingdom he also remembers. Now their relationship is somewhat fraught. Very, very fraught. Because when he last saw her in his fourth face, I could tell this by how she described how he used to look. She betrayed him. She had her mind, it wasn't her fault. Her mind was wiped and replaced with another personality. And she ingratiated herself to him, and he very much liked her. And they were very good friends, this alternate personality of hers and him. And then she tried to kill him, and she wound up, that version of her, that alternate personality that was put in her to kill him, was, gone. And he kind of holds her, well, he definitely holds her responsible for that, even though it really wasn't her fault. She hadn't meant to do that. She was forced. But he still blames her for the loss of this woman that he seemed to care about a great deal. So it's quite tense between them. Right now, the Doctor is simply focused on trying to find the TARDIS and getting the hell out. But what Mark 7 and Anya and the Big Boss are trying to deal with is this: the planet is inhabited by this group of aliens that is extremely, extremely feral, and they are killing anything in sight. The humanoids, Anya's group that are on this planet, are not from that planet. They're explorers of a sort. And the Doctor manages to figure out that the reason why these aliens are in an uproar is because they're not supposed to be there. The humanoids are not supposed to be on the planet. They've invaded this planet's space. They've taken over the planet to the detriment of the life that was already there, which is a common story on Doctor Who, that humans tend to take what they want. This is what happened in 42, if you remember. They were taking energy from the sun without realizing that it was a living being. And then they were wondering why the living being was so pissed off. So this is kind of in that same vein. So the indigenous aliens on the planet are not happy that their planet has been invaded and taken over, so they're kind of killing people as a result. As this is taking place, the big to-do on the planet is the opening of these time tunnels. This scientist, this big deal scientist who claims, and he's human, who claims to have mastered the art of time travel, is opening up what he calls time tunnels in his big-ass scientific building to allow people to travel to whatever time they want. It's like a leisure product. The Doctor is confused because humans are not supposed to have the ability to use time travel in any time frame, even though this is sometime in the far future for humanity. There's no way that they should be able to have mastered time travel, because that is something that, at least according to the Doctor Who verse, I think that only Time Lords have been able to accomplish properly, with the exception of maybe the Daleks, but the Daleks barely. And that's only with very large amounts of luck, and usually researching any Time Lord technology they could get their hands on. But yes, Time Lords have mostly been the ones to hold the secrets to time travel, and they guard that ferociously. And I know it's not as easy to guard now that the Time Lords are gone. But it still doesn't make sense to him how they could have figured this out. So he goes to the building because he wants to figure out, they all go to the building because they're trying to figure out how this technology can even be there. And when he looks at it, and they get to the building and they meet this person called the pastor. It's some sort of religious person, and he's holding what looks like a Bible. And he seems harmless at first. But the Doctor senses something familiar about the book that he can't quite put his finger on. They go into the building to investigate this technology, and as soon as he sees it, he knows immediately that it's not human. It's Gallifreyan. It is absolutely Gallifreyan tech. And he can't for the life of him see how it could be here, because Gallifrey was destroyed, unless, when the planet was blown. We all know what happened later, but this is the 10th Doctor's perspective, so. Day of the Doctor hasn't happened for him yet. The only explanation is that when the planet was blown, that some debris might have landed on a planet, and obviously somebody found it and tried to use it. But their technology is so ridiculous to understand that he's having trouble believing that even if a human found it, that they would be able to make anything of it. Their temporal technology is something that only they could understand. So he's desperately trying to figure out what this thing is. At the same time, they're trying to deal with all these. The time tunnels haven't opened yet, but they're going to open soon. But because this guy has been playing with the time stream, basically playing with time itself, he has opened up pockets without knowing, and causing all different manner of creatures to come through from different periods of time. You got a Centurion that shows up. You got dinosaurs. It's absolute insanity. And at the end of it, it's almost as if every time period is basically brought together all at once. Time isn't like this linear. It's basically like he said, the big ball of wibbly wobbly timey-wimey stuff. Time is happening all at once. So every time period is happening at the same time. And it's absolute insanity. Which is why those creatures are there on the planet. The creatures that are on the planet were actually indigenous, but long time ago. And they shouldn't be there now. But now they're there because time is happening all at once. And it's pretty much destroying everything. So they try to appeal to the human scientists. And he... Whoa. That was a loud thunderclap. What the hell just fell off the wall? Oh shit. That was a whole thing that just fell off the wall. Damn. Anyway, so they try to appeal to his better nature, but I don't think this guy has a better nature. All he cares about is money. He's trying to make money from the idea that these people could travel, that he could sell this time tunnel technology to people as leisure, that they could go to any time period that they could want. It's like a trip. But see, the thing is that his time tunnels aren't contained. It's not like the vortex. The Time Lords had to construct TARDISes just so you could go into the vortex. And even still, it's dangerous if the TARDIS isn't properly maintained. The TARDIS is the only thing that keeps people alive when they're in the vortex. You can't just send a regular ship into the vortex. It's not how it works. So, if anybody was to try to go into the time tunnel as a trip, they would probably get hurt by all the vortex energy, and the Arctron energy, and the Huon particles. Doctor is well aware of this, but he still can't figure out how in the hell this guy managed to make it work. There's no human in the universe that would be able to understand it. Not the way that Time Lords do, because they're temporal beings. So, at the end of the story, at least the first story, he manages to stop the scientists. They want to arrest him, but he's like, my lawyers will get me out of here. There's no way that anybody will arrest me, blah, blah. You have no proof, blah, 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 blah. And that's true. They don't. But they could go on the Galactic News and spread this whole thing. I mean, everybody on the planet saw all these creatures out of different points in time destroying everything. And all they have to do is go on to the Galactic News and say, yeah, these time tunnels are responsible because he doesn't know what he's doing and blah, blah, blah. And don't you think all of those investors are going to be like, excuse me? You used our money for what? Yeah. So at the end of it, this guy basically throws himself on his sword and asks to be arrested because he's afraid if he's not arrested, he's going to be killed by people who want all the people that want their money back, who paid him to be a part of this time tunnel venture. The Doctor is able to use the TARDIS, or use another TARDIS, actually, effectively, to shut this all down. Let me just tell you how the first part ends. In the first part, they finally make it into the building. They go and they confront the scientist for what he's done. And there's another person who the scientist is with that shoots the Doctor twice, once in both hearts. And for a minute there, you think the Doctor's dead. Anya's there, Mark 7 is there. Oh my God! And he begins to regenerate. And turns into a woman. At first I was like, oh God, is this going to turn into a 13th Doctor story? Maybe they were trying to hide it as a surprise or something. No, this is a totally different person entirely. She's a woman, but she's a totally different person. And at that point, I think everyone was like, what? So, yeah, everybody was like, you did not just kill the 10th Doctor, what the fuck? So it ends pretty much right there, that first story with the Doctor regenerating into a woman. Hence the title of the second story, The Wrong Woman. Now, within the first 5 minutes of this Doctor talking, I already have the niggling suspicion that this wasn't right. Because I know that the Doctor's personality tends to change from regeneration to regeneration. But the Doctor's core, who he is at his core, remains the same. Like, his view of people, of what he thinks and believes, does not change. His reactions to people don't change. The way that he believes in humanity, in society itself, like his overall core personality does not change. Just a bit of his eccentricities do. As they said in Day of the Doctor, same software, different packaging, basically. So, as soon as she started foaming at the mouth, within 5 to 10 minutes of her talking, I could tell this wasn't him. Because the personality was too much of a shift. I know that going from the 10th Doctor to the 11th Doctor was jarring. And I know going from the 11th Doctor to the 12th Doctor was jarring. Each personality is different. However, their core being, who they are in their core, and how they react to people, and how they view the universe does not change. That's always going to be the same. So as soon as she started blabbing, I could tell that this wasn't right. Either the regeneration got fucked somewhere, or this wasn't the Doctor, because her personality was not right. First, she was saying, because the Doctor had said to her he didn't know if he could forgive her, Anya Kingdom, to what happened to this personality of hers, but he was working on it, and he knew that it wasn't her fault. He understood that, and he was trying. This version of the Doctor says, I will never forgive you, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, what? Okay, right there was a tip-off. The Doctor is not that type of person that is going to say that he doesn't forgive someone. The Doctor, more than anybody, would never condemn someone, no matter what they did, because in judging another person, how can he judge someone without judging himself, especially what happened during the Time War and Gallifrey? It's just impossible. So right there, I was like, nah, that don't make no sense. As they go along, basically everyone is following her. She has her personality is very dominant. She's very aggressive, not physically, like verbally. She dominates the whole conversation. She dominates the whole room. At first they don't know what to think because they don't really know what regeneration is, but the 10th Doctor had tried to explain it as it was happening. That didn't go well. So you can tell that Anya is kind of like, I'm not so sure this is right. I mean, I don't know anything about regeneration, but this doesn't feel right. But she doesn't have anything else to go off of, so, and they need to figure out a way to stop the time tunnels from opening, and for time, they need to stop time itself from collapsing. So, what actually happened is that the person who was shot or tased, whatever, wasn't the 10th Doctor. While they were separated for a short period of time, the 10th Doctor wound up getting clocked and knocked unconscious and dragged into another TARDIS. And the actual person who regenerated used some kind of visual manipulation technique to make himself, whatever, look and sound like the 10th Doctor. And did the fakey regeneration thing. Or maybe it wasn't fake. Maybe he actually, the person actually, maybe the Time Lord actually did regenerate, because he didn't seem to realize that he was a woman at first. Turns out that the pastor wasn't a pastor. Pastor was a Time Lord. Who's the only religious Time Lord that anybody can think of? Yep. Yep, that's it. It's the meddling monk. Apparently, the meddling monk survived the Time War by not being there. Much like the Master, he went, peace out, yo, and disappeared because he didn't want to be involved. The meddling monk's only joy in life is meddling with time, and that's basically what he was doing by opening up the time tunnels, fucking around with time, giving humans the ability to master time travel, even though they were never supposed to have it, just to see what would happen. So the Doctor is now contained aboard the monk's TARDIS, and he spends most of his time trying to convince the meddling monk to stop, because if they don't, time is going to fracture and everything will be destroyed. Like, the entire universe will be destroyed. Because time is so powerless in this fracture, Anya, throughout the first story, has been getting what she thinks of as visions of the 10th Doctor talking to her, and she's not sure what to make of them. What she doesn't realize, it's actually future bleeding into past. She's hearing the 10th Doctor in the meddling monk's TARDIS trying to talk to her in his future, but from her past. Even though it's not that far in the past, because from the first story to the second story, it's only a matter of minutes, but technically, if you want to be technical, it's his future, her past. So he's trying to get her to listen to him and understand what's going on so that they can fix it. The bigger deal is the 10th Doctor trying to convince the meddling monk to let him go free so that he can fix this before time itself implodes. The meddling monk doesn't believe him. She thinks it's a trick, that he's trying to manipulate her, and that he's going to arrest her and take her back to Gallifrey to stand trial. And this is when it really gets hairy, because the meddling monk has been gone for so long that she has no idea that Gallifrey is gone. And he has to explain that to her, the choice he made and what he had to do at the end of the war. And at first she doesn't even want to believe him. How could that possibly be real? But it is. You know, so he just barely manages to convince the meddling monk to let him out. And he does his thing and is able to collapse the time tunnels before they open and set time right. Problem is, with all the time tunnels closed and no way to travel in time, well, he could have used... See, this is where it got really hairy. Since he had control of all these time tunnels, and time was very flimsy at this point, he could take the TARDIS to any period in time that he wanted, and he could change anything. And there's a moment, a very small moment, where he's standing there just staring at the console, and you hear him say, I could change it all. I could save Gallifrey. I could make sure that no one ever falls into the void, meaning Rose. And that's the one he really sticks on. He could save her, so he would never have to lose her. And for a second there, you almost think he's going to do it. But if he does, it could collapse everything. Would he really be willing to say, fuck it, to everybody else, and be that selfish? But it's the Doctor, and you know that the Doctor wouldn't do that. And he says, sorry, Rose. And he cuts it off. And is just barely able to get his plan to work, to collapse the time tunnels and to shut down the technology. So, at the end of the day, I think the meddling monk takes off in her TARDIS to parts unknown. And leaves the Doctor with Anya Kingdom and her group. At first they're not sure if it's him, because she swears she saw him die. But she realizes that what she was hearing was him in that TARDIS talking to her. So they, as I said, they managed to confront the scientist who was trying to develop this tech They tell him that even though they don't have enough proof to formally arrest him, they can tell all of his investors what this is going to be used for, and he's going to lose all his money and go bankrupt, and he's going to have people pounding on his door wanting to be paid. So, one or the other. So he basically falls on his sword and begs for them to arrest him so he doesn't have to pay all of his people. Although I think it likely he'll probably have to pay restitution. So all of the crazy creatures that have come from different parts of time have all disappeared. Everything is set back to rights, and you think, well, that's the end of it. And then you hear those precious words, exterminate, exterminate. And you're like, where did the Daleks come from? I don't think the Daleks are actually there yet. It's just kind of a setup to what's coming later. So the Doctor and Anya Mark 7 have to get off that planet. It's unstable. So they manage to hop a ride aboard one of the shuttles. And this segues into the House of Kingdom. The House of Kingdom is interesting. It's a lot of talking, but it's interesting at the same time. The action doesn't come till towards the end of the story, but you do learn a lot. So they've escaped in an escape pod, and they're making the best of it. And they come upon another enemy, and they get shot at, and it causes them to lose consciousness, and they're in a bad way. They don't know what they're going to do, but some of them, it looks like Mark 7 is damaged, and Anya and the Doctor are hurt, and they're tumbling off into space. When they wake up, the Doctor wakes up first, and they realize that they've been found, and they've been brought to another planet. And this one is in the Milky Way. This is Neptune, if I'm correct. Yeah. Is it Neptune? Because it's quite cold. Anyway, what the Doctor finds out is that the man who rescued them is Sarah Kingdom's grandfather. And Sarah and her grandfather don't have a good relationship because some years ago Sarah's mother died as a result of the Dalek invasion, the Dalek Wars, and her father had to make some decisions whether or not to stop the Daleks or rescue the humans, and at the end of the day he made a very difficult choice that he didn't want to make, but he had no other option, and her mother died as a result because some of the humans, the group of humans that she was with, got left behind. And she's never forgiven her grandfather for leaving her mother to die, so they don't have much of a relationship. Her grandfather, even though he's with SSS, is also a scientist. He works in their scientific division. And he's been, I guess, trying to develop ways to defeat the enemy of a sort. The enemy at the time being the Daleks. This is during the time the Dalek human wars. This is probably like 25 something, maybe 500 years in our future, I guess. So, I mean, they're thankful that they were rescued. At least the Doctor and Mark 7 are. But Anya doesn't want to, she don't want to hear it. She doesn't want to talk to him. She doesn't want to deal with him. She just wants to get the hell out. But in the course of their stay in her grandfather's home, they realize that there's some shit going on that's kind of funky. It doesn't smell right. And while they're there, another woman shows up. She's also part of the SSS, but her grandfather works for this woman, and she is insistent that the three of them have to stay in isolation in the grandfather's home, period. They don't know why at first. Come to find out that she's trying to keep them quiet, because the grandfather had been experimenting on a certain class of plant that was indigenous to Skaro. And it was a very dangerous form of plant life, that if you are bitten by it, you will turn into some ravenous creature and start killing. And as with most governments, when they're trying to win what they perceive as an unwinnable war, they will go to any extreme that they can in order to have the upper hand. And they pretty much were doing that at this point. They were using, this was like biochemical warfare, basically. Alright, so she finds out, she and the doctor both find out that her grandfather has been experimenting on these plants, trying to use the plants as a way to defeat the Daleks. But what nobody realized is that they were starting to experiment on human people by injecting human people with whatever was in these plants to cause this transformation. And it's not right. It's basically killing people, or turning these people into killing machines. So, yeah. That's not good. When the doctor realizes what's going on, he's like, you can't do that. You're using people. That's wrong. That's terrible. I mean, there's no amount of war that could justify that. And her grandfather knows that the doctor's right, but it's almost like this woman who represents the SSS has him under her thumb. And he's so afraid that if he goes against her, she's going to kill him. But when this woman decides to leave the doctor and Anya and Mark 7 to die on the planet's surface, where all these human/plant creatures are, yeah, he's like, no, I ain't down with that. The other problem is that the humans on the planet have metalloid servants, and I know if any of you have seen the animated Daleks, you know what the metalloids look like, the big round spheres. They can be electronically controlled. I mean, their parameters are set within their circuitry. The one that works for the grandfather is a servant, but he can just as the metalloid can just as easily be reprogrammed to kill. And there's a ton of mechanoids on the planet's surface. They've been programmed to basically clear out everything, destroy it all, because the planet is being, the planet's surface is being terraformed. So they don't distinguish between living beings and whatever else is on the surface. If it's there, it's going to be burned, because that's what they're programmed to do. So in order to stop the doctor and Anya and Mark 7 from talking, she deposits them on the planet's surface and leaving them to die, knowing that the mechanoids won't care that they're living beings. They'll just kill them, because it's in their program to sweep, basically. But the grandfather he can't allow it, because that's his granddaughter, and he's already betrayed her once with what happened to her mother, and he's not going to let it happen again. So they get into a fight. The doctor manages to reprogram the mechanoids most of them take out each other, but he managed to reprogram one to get them back into the building where her grandfather is, and to take out all of the experiments so they can never be used. But by then he's too late. The grandfather has already been injected, and he starts turning into the creature, and yeah, so the Doctor is left with no other recourse but to let the mechanoid do its job. She doesn't want to. He doesn't want to, and this being Anya's grandfather, you know, it's like, this is up to you, but if we let him loose, it's going to be nasty. So she's like, it's fine, go ahead. So the grandfather dies, saving her. The woman who was trying to kill them dies, and all the mechanoids are blown up. And okay, so they come to find out that her grandfather has been secretly experimenting on a species of plant life indigenous to Skaro, that if developed properly, when the plant bites you, you turn into this horrible deformed creature, and whatever you scratch or bite turns into this deformed creature, and you can kill just about anything. The humans or the SSS are wanting to use this as a form of biotechnological warfare against the Daleks, although I don't know how these creatures could get through the Dalekanian armor, but okay. Now, the representative of the SSS that's there, who's trying to play nice and act like she doesn't know what's going on or whatever, she keeps telling him, keep your mouth shut, don't say anything. But the Doctor's too clever for that, and he manages to figure out what's really going on and what Anya's grandfather's been doing. And she can't believe it, that he would go this far. I know that when you're embroiled in war, there's some things you do that you're not proud of. Nobody understands that more than the Doctor himself, but this is just sick. I mean, you're using human guinea pigs I mean, that's part of the reason why the planet below is such a mess. They pretty much destroyed it in their scientific research. So on the surface, there's nothing but mechanoids. And you'll remember the mechanoids from the Daleks animated 5-part little series there. They've been programmed to basically street sweep the entire planet and clear out everything that's there by basically setting on fire and destroying it, getting rid of all the debris, anything that's left on the surface, clearing it out so that it can be developed. Their programming does not distinguish between living beings and buildings. If you're on the surface, they're going to sweep you. So the woman tries to get them not to talk, but she realizes that the Doctor is not going to give up. So she takes Anya and the Doctor and Mark 7, and she throws them out onto the planet's surface and leaves them there to die with the mechanoids programmed to kill everything. So the Doctor has a hell of a time trying to reprogram the mechanoids, or at least one, to not kill them so they can get back onto the grandfather's facility. The grandfather starts to realize that this is wrong. What this woman and the SSS have been telling him to do is wrong. He already compromised one of his daughters and lost the faith of his granddaughter because of it. He was not going to allow his granddaughter to die the way that he allowed his daughter to die. So he stands up against her. They get into a fight over the experiment. He gets infected by the experiment, and he starts turning into this creature, and he attacks her, and they go at it, and they both pretty much, well, he manages to kill her, but he's not in his right mind anymore. At that same time, the Doctor's managed to reprogram the mechanoid to get them back into the facility, and once he gets there, he realizes that the scientist, the grandfather, he can't be saved. But he can use the mechanoids to street sweep inside the building and destroy any everything that's left of the experiments, everything there, so that this will never get out and never harm anyone ever again. Anya is a little, she's not sure if she wants to go that far because she doesn't want to lose her grandfather. At the end of this, they finally seem to manage to make peace, but it's too late now because he's pretty much dead. I mean, there's nothing left of him except this mindless being. So you'd basically be giving him a grace if you let him die. So after programming the mechanoid to do what it needs to do, it basically sets the whole place on fire and destroys the entire place. So that there is nothing left of the experiments, no plants, no anything. Everything is destroyed. And right at the end of it, another SAS ship, the actual SAS ship, finally arrives. Not the rogue one that the female SAS person, the one who was ready to kill them all. Not her. The actual SAS ship comes to pick them up and take them wherever they need to go. Now, that's pretty much where the story leaves off. So I don't know if he's going to continue on these adventures with Anya and Mark 7 or not. I just know that right now the Doctor's in a pickle. He's helped them to fix their problem, but he has an even bigger one because he's stuck in one specific point in time and he's without a TARDIS. He has no way to get to where he needs to go. So in part 2 and 3, I guess we will continue on with this adventure, and he will have to figure out some sort of way to find his way back to TARDIS, or who sent him there in the first place, because we think it's the meddling monk, but there's no proof of that. That's an assumption that the Doctor is making, but he can't prove it yet. So, because he didn't really think the meddling monk would have the ability to just pluck him out of the TARDIS, you know. So, Dalek Universe 2 and 3 are on the way. So when we get those, and I have a chance to listen to those, we will do reviews of those. All 3 stories were really well done. David Tennant on point as always. I mean, the man can slip back in and out of being the 10th Doctor. Like, to him it's like breathing. So there really is no worry when he's doing it. He's on point, 100% perfect. You know, it's always a joy to be able to have him back in my life as the 10th. I know this past year he's been pretty much everywhere. So yeah. Next up is now Jane Slavin, who was playing Anya Kingdom, also did a really good job. Joe Sim, who was playing Mark 7, did a great job, and he was also in Broadchurch. He played the guy that was living in the trailer, who was the best friend of the guy that turned out to be the one that killed the boy. Anyhow, they all did a very good job. I will admit there were some parts of the first story that dragged a little bit, but I think it was too much on the setup and not enough of, there wasn't a very good balance of setup and action. It wasn't until towards the end of the first story that you really started to get into the blue, you know. It was a lot of talking at first that I think that might make some people bored. I don't know, depends on your flavor. But once you get to like the 35-minute or so mark in the story, that's when it starts to pick up. I know that seems like a lot of time, but once the action really starts to pick up and starts, it doesn't stop the whole way through from 1 to 2 to 3. It really just keeps going and going, especially in the second story. It's just one after the other. But it's gratifying that we know the 10th Doctor so well, and that we know the Doctor as a whole so well, that we can tell. I mean, you can tell if you really know the Doctor as a character that well. You can tell as soon as this female Doctor, whoever she is, opens her mouth and starts talking, that you can tell it's not her, that it's not him, it's not our Doctor, because we know his personality. We know how he is, we know how he approaches people, we know how he views the universe, and the way that he would respond. So you can tell, even though this is supposedly a regeneration and a personality shift that is too wild even for the Doctor. So, and it is very interesting to see him and the meddling monk going up against each other in that battle of the minds, because you have that same thing with the Master, but the Master is more crazy. The meddling monk seems more calculated, like he's just wanting to fuck shit up just because he can. So yeah, those 3 stories were really well done. It was, like I said, slow going at first, but once you get towards the end of the first story, it just keeps going and going and going and going and going. And the action really does pick up. The actors are on point. David especially, it's always a joy to be able to listen to him in any capacity whatsoever. So that's awesome. The next 2, Daleks 2 and Daleks 3, I don't know if they're doing this on a yearly basis or every 6 months, but I will let you know as I find out when the release dates are going to be. I have 2 other reviews that are going to be coming up for Big Finish products. I have, well, 3 if you count Daleks 2 and 3, whenever that comes up. We also have the 9th Doctor Adventures, which comes out this month in May, but it's probably towards the end of the month. I cannot tell you how excited I am for the 9th Doctor Adventures, because it's with Christopher Eccleston himself playing the 9th Doctor. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god! So yeah, this is big deal. Big deal. There's 3 adventures in this first set. I know the next set comes out next year, and the 3rd set comes out the year after that. I can't tell you how excited I am. Oh my god. Can you tell? But I'm really excited. Yeah, okay. So, once that comes out and I give that a listen, I will for sure have a review on that. And then also, this month, we have Torchwood Adventures Absent Friends, which is 10th Doctor, again, coming into Torchwood and having an adventure with Captain Jack and Yonta Jones. And so that should be interesting, because for the first time, the Doctor gets to see Jack's Torchwood and gets to kind of take over a bit and be in charge, which is weird for Jack, because this is Jack's domain, but whatever's going on is a big enough deal that the Doctor feels he needs to interfere and help out to fix things. It's a short, but it should be good. So next up in our review is going to be Echoes of Extinction. Echoes of Extinction. This is the final Big Finish product for Time Lord Victorious, that year, our year-long Time Lord Victorious foray. Like I said, the only piece of Time Lord Victorious left that we do not have yet is Time Fracture, the live-action escape room feature, which sadly is only available to UK residents. As I said in the beginning of the video, hopefully whoever lives in the UK and has the opportunity to buy tickets, because I know they've now just started to go on sale. They're planning on opening up very, very soon. Whoever has a chance to experience Time Fracture, please do us all a favor who do not live in the UK. Do a video. You don't necessarily have to go in and record the whole thing, but just, tell us what your experience was like. Give us the deets. Let us know what this is all about. There's an impressive list of actors who are involved in this. As I said, also they have gotten some actual actors from the show's past to come in and record some voiceovers, as well as do some minor green screen work to make the whole experience, more cool. They got David Bradley coming in to play the first Doctor. John Barron will be there as Jack. Cross fingers, you might get some experiences with actual doctors. I don't know if they're just doing it by voice or whatever it be. It would be awesome if we had some of them come in to do it in green screen, but who knows. Like I said, if you have the opportunity to experience this escape room, please do let us know what it looks like, what it is, how it goes down. Give us all the awesome sauce deets. Anyway, back to Big Finish. So, Echoes of Extinction is one story. It's about 50 minutes or so long, but it's cut into two parts. Two 25-minute short stories. One is focused on the Eighth Doctor and his experience on a what looks like a desolate ship that is orbiting a planet, and there's only one living being aboard the ship and a robot. And he's trying to figure out what this woman, he's trying to help her, but he's not quite sure what exactly this entity is that is causing all these problems. And in the second half of the story, you have the 10th Doctor, and he's on the planet below, but in the future. And whatever the entity was that the 8th Doctor was dealing with is the same one he's dealing with on the planet. So it's kind of like the 8th Doctor starts it, and the 10th Doctor has to pick up the pieces after it's done. Now, just for context, I really had to struggle to figure out where exactly this takes place in Time Lord Victoria's timeline, but based on some of the inferences that the 10th Doctor gives, I can sufficiently tell that at least for the 10th Doctor, this takes place after the second Keturah book. So, after All Flesh is Grass. So, this is after the Keturah are dead and done, and he's already moved on, because he's not in that I want them dead mindset, we're still at war, whatever. This is after. This is all over. And now he's pretty much seeing the repercussions of his actions for killing the Keturah without thinking first. It's causing rapid shifts in time for a lot of civilizations and a lot of planets. It's causing civilizations to rise and fall in time frames that they weren't originally supposed to, which inevitably leads to what happened to this planet. The 8th Doctor, I believe this is also right after that, when he's off on his own, doing his own thing, mining his own beeswax, and he winds up on a ship that is orbiting a planet, and he comes into contact with the single one humanoid person that is on the ship. She's basically a prisoner. She's stuck there. The only contact she has with humanity or with anything at all is a robot butler who attends to all her physical needs. I don't mean that. I mean like he cooks for her and brings her food and keeps the ship running, and, you know, he makes sure that she has whatever she needs to survive, but he also is not allowed to let her leave. So she's basically stuck there. And she's desperate to get off the ship, but the robot won't let her leave. Now that the Doctor's there, she feels like she might have a way to actually get off the ship. The problem is that there is a psychic entity that's on board there with her that she's trying to battle. And the Doctor is struggling to figure out who this psychic entity is and how it could be that powerful. What they come to realize in the first part of the story is that the woman worked for the government, and the government, as governments do, was developing they were trying to develop a sort of psychological warfare program against their enemies. And what they did was they developed some kind of psychic means to gather information. On paper, it looked harmless, like it was basically a way for them to infiltrate and gather as much information as they could using this computer and psychic energy to do the job. However, as in so many computer stories, like Terminator, you know, what happens when you give machines too much power? They become autonomous. So this computer had so much psychic energy coming into it that it basically became self-aware, and somehow started to take over other people using psychic energy and started killing people, because apparently I don't know, something in the programming got screwed up. And the government was wanting it shut down. But the scientist, this woman, she didn't agree with them because she was able to forge a connection to it. And she realized that it didn't want to do what it was doing. It was programmed to do this, and it had these, it could hear all the psychic whispers of all of the people telling it to do these things as it was programmed to do, and it couldn't stop, but it didn't want it to do these things. It actually had connected with her on some level and didn't harm her. She'd actually been able to develop a trust with this entity, and she promised it that she would help it. When the government realized what she had done and that she betrayed them, they sentenced her and they put her on the ship out in the cosmos there by herself. That was basically a prison ship where she is doomed to stay there for the rest of her life. By herself, only being attended to by this robot who will never allow her to leave. But unfortunately, the consciousness, this entity, went out of control. It's called the Network. Who is played wonderfully by Bern Gorman, who we all know as Owen Harper from Torchwood. So she's desperate to get off the ship, and he said that he will take her. The Eighth Doctor said that's not a problem, but the only issue is that he can't just leave the ship with this thing there that could easily escape. He has to shut it down. So the course of his 25-minute adventure is pretty much dedicated to him shutting this thing down. And at first he thinks that he has shut it down, because the entity on board the ship, when the entity feels that it's under threat, it manages to transfer its consciousness into the robot. And because the robot has abilities of its own, that makes the whole situation worse. So at the end of the adventure, they manage to shut the robot down. And the Doctor says, look, I know you don't want to leave it here, but we have no choice because it's going to kill us. Sometimes decisions like that are hard to make, but we have to do what we have to do. Because at first he thinks that by destroying the robot, he's destroying the psychic imprint, so that means the entity is gone. But in actuality, the entity has managed to go even farther, and it has managed to replicate itself down onto the surface. So now he's like, oh shit. Well, there's nothing I can... He believes that the planet is... from what he's able to ascertain, is uninhabited. So there's really nobody on the surface for the entity to kill. It'll just be there by itself, and eventually he figures it will kill itself, or it will just die off when it realizes there's nobody there for it to harm. So he finally gets her on board the TARDIS, and they take off. And that is the end of the Eighth Doctor's adventure. And the last time we will see him for Time Lord Victorious. He thinks everything is okay. However, what he doesn't realize is that because of the 10th Doctor's actions later on with Time Lord Victorious, shit done got fucked up. There wasn't originally supposed to be life on that planet. Not for many, 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 many centuries. Eons. However, because of what happened with the Keturah and the 10th Doctor and his colossal fuck up, there is now life on the planet a lot earlier than it was meant to be. Even though the life on the planet it started out as somewhat primitive, but there actually is people there. And there wasn't supposed to be, at least not at that time frame. It was supposed to be much later. But the Keturah weren't there to see to that because the Doctor went and fucked up and killed them. So their whole time stream, like their whole development, has now been radically altered. There are now human people on that planet. Fresh meat for the entity. So the entity has pretty much ravaged the entire planet. The 10th Doctor shows up as a salvage crew is down on the surface. Their mission is to salvage the entity hopefully in the body of the robot, and take it back to be sold. 4 billion credits. 4 4 billion credits, Doctor. He's like, yeah, and I don't give a shit. 4 billion credits? Still, it's not right. 4 billion credits. And? So, he gets there, introduces himself. First, they think he's an enemy, or that he might be a rival that's coming to try to infringe on their score. He's like, nah. I'm just trying to figure out what the hell's going on and why you guys are doing this, because this isn't right. He tries to implore to them that this creature is dangerous. You can already tell when they're on the surface that the entire planet has been ravaged. There's not a stitch of human life left because this creature has killed it all. And it's multiplying at a consistent rate. And once it kills one, it will go into another person, and it gets worse and worse and worse. He knows that even if they manage to get a hold of this thing, they won't be able to control it. It will just go into one of them, and it will make things from bad to worse. Also in this story, the character by the name of Cook, who's with the salvage team, is played by Arthur Darvill, as we all know as Rory Williams. Anyway, the captain is dead set. He manages to convince the other two that this is not good. You need to contain this thing, kill it, stop it. You can't control it, blah, blah, blah. And the money makes no difference. But the captain is dead set. She's going to capture this thing. They manage to kill one, but not before it transfers its consciousness into another person. And it just keeps going and going and going. So the captain finally realizes that there's no hope in this. That no matter how much, what they try to do, it's going to wind up killing them. So the captain dies trying to stop it. The doctor manages to destroy it. And luckily, we think, anyway, he thinks he's destroyed it. And he manages to save the two that are left, Cook and the other female that's part of the group. And they're just lucky enough that another vessel's touched down right towards the end of the story. And this will be that vessel can take the salvagers off planet while he goes back to the TARDIS and gets the fuck out. You know, and he's like, look, you need to bulldoze this planet, like burn it from the ground up. Do not let that thing go off planet. It's too dangerous. He's struggling the entire story to remember where he saw this last. I couldn't understand at first why he wasn't recognizing the creature and the fact that it was a psychic entity that was going from one place to the next. He recognized the planet as if he had been there before. And I was like, how does he not remember? But then I remembered that the 8th Doctor was precariously known for having spots of amnesia in his lifetime. So there's a lot of spots in his memory that are spotty and he doesn't remember. So that particular instance of his life, or the 8th Doctor's life, I don't think he remembers it very clearly. He knows he's been there, and he's certain that this is familiar to him somehow. He just can't figure out how. But he's certain that it's up there, he just can't remember it. And it's a spot of the 8th Doctor's timeline that is not open. But he does figure out toward the end that he's partially responsible for how far this got because of what he did with the Katura. They try to reason with the entity at first, and it seems like they've almost gotten to the point where he will just stop killing. But at the end, he just can't hold back anymore. It's too much. The voices are just too much, and they pretty much have to run for their lives to get off the planet before this thing kills them. So they do manage to make it off. The Doctor goes on his merry, and the other two go on their way. And that's pretty much the end of the story. It's actually quite dark when you consider the nature of other Doctor Who stories, because this could have been a really good Doctor Who episode on TV. Like, it could have been really, really good. And a really good opportunity for Paul McGann to come back to the show in a live action capacity. Not only is it testament to the Doctor's fuck-ups and the fact that this is not the first time he's going to encounter something like this because of the mistakes that he's made. He's going to have to fix it. He's going to wind up seeing things that shouldn't be because of what he's done. But that humanity never quite seems to learn, right? That they keep making mistakes. They keep doing things that they shouldn't do, all because of their desperation to win a war or to be the one in power or whatever excuse. So, yeah. And yet somehow the Doctor never manages to give up on humanity as a whole. You know, he always believes that the humans, you know, if you give them a chance, they will surprise you. They can be their best when they want to be. So that's my review for Big Finish and my unboxing for Pudsey Bear. I hope you enjoyed the video. I will probably be coming at you with another video towards the end of the month. This month is a little bit busy for me because I'm preparing for a move the first week of June after my kids get out of school. So I will do my best to get the video up. It just depends on when the audios come out. If the Big Finish audios come out in the middle of the month, then yeah, that's not a problem. I can get those reviews out without any issue. But if the reviews come out, or if the audios come out at the end of the month, you're gonna have to give me a little time because, like I said, at end of the month I'm gonna be moving, so that might be maybe the second week of June after I get everything settled. That I'll get those reviews out to you. As soon as I hear anything about Unbound, as far as the manuscripts and when the books will be ready, I will let you know. They will send me an update because I'm a supporter, so they will send me updates as far as how long it will be before the books are ready to be published, and when they are published, and also when they start sending out the swag. So as soon as I know, I will let you know. Don't forget, there will be further reviews, like I said, for Ninth Doctor Adventures and for Absent Friends, as soon as those come out. And there will also be the Unbound David Tennant news. We know that Around the World in 80 Days has completed filming for the fall release. They're in post-prod right now, getting ready for a supposed fall release. We also know that David's attached to a brand new project called Inside Man. I don't have a lot of details about it right now. From what I have heard, it sounds interesting, from what I've heard. So as soon as I get more details about that, I will make sure you guys are up to date so we can take a look at that. All right, guys, I'll talk at you later. Peace out.
Good night.